And welcome to another Round the Rotary with me, your host, J.P. Warren. And before we get kicked off today, I have to do what we've been doing normally. I'm going to do this in my podcast voice. Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Capital Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering and well site supervision in all disciplines of the oil and gas industry. Contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today.
Man, I'm impressed.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
I really thought that was like a pre-recorded thing.
Did you really?
I wasn't even prepared for that right now.
So when you first heard it, you thought,
yeah.
Anyway, before we continue, guys, the person that's talking right now, I'm very happy he came in today. We've been talking about this to get him in here for a couple weeks, and I guess things kind of worked out. We have Nick Goree, the drilling manager at Earthstone Energy, joining us today. And we were talking before he came on. He thought that was a pre-recorded. No, that's live. We're all live here.
I'm actually kind of shocked.
Around the Rotary, we're live.
That was a good deep voice. I wish I had more of a radio voice. You definitely have that.
Try it out. Give me a radio voice.
I just can't get that low. No, it's just not going to happen.
I think you sit close to the microphone. Anything can happen. Hey, so Nick, let's get this kicked off. First off, thank you so much for coming in today, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit and talk with us.
Happy to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. There we go.
Line 3. Are you really a long-time listener?
Oh, I've actually listened to, I think, pretty much every podcast coming in here.
Are you a podcast guy?
I am a podcast guy. Joe Rogan's probably my favorite. Of course, that's most everyone's setup. And then I like to listen to some of the other. The Chive had a really good one. Yeah. Mo, with Mo Obituaries, he was a really good one too as well. That one's more of a actual just kind of historical setup side. I like history a lot. So
have you heard of Dan Carlin Hardcore History?
Oh, Dan Carlin's solid.
Dude, have you heard the Genghis Khan?
No.
It's like an 8-hour podcast.
Oh God.
And it talks about like I guess like Genghis Khan and like kind of like his early days and kind of how he like conquered. It's very interesting and very gruesome. It's pretty like it's not filtered. It's pretty real, kind of what I guess tactics he employed back in the day, and kind of how he used to psych out his enemies. But it's pretty messed up. I highly recommend getting that. That was back when it was free when I listened to it, but I think you have to pay for it now, like $2.99. But
if it's good, I'll check it out.
I'll
for
Venmo
sure.
you. I'll Venmo you. We'll do a line item on that next time.
Perfect.
So what kind of? So that being said, what kind of? So your history podcast?
History podcast side. I'll also Barstool Sports.
Yep.
Keeping up. Trying to keep up with all the different sports world. It's pretty difficult with everything going on and kind of all around setups and trying to get. I just want sports. I don't want the politics side of things. So they do a pretty good job of just maintaining it on the sports side. So
just kind of getting rid of everything political that kind of sticks to everything these days. I want to rant about that later. Let's not get into that right now.
We'll bookmark it.
And we'll bookmark it, and we actually have it here to talk about. So I guess let's get it kicked off. Let's get the normal stuff out of the way, and then let's kind of take our own path right now. Why don't you give us a little background, kind of where you came from, where you grew up, and kind of your different roles in the oil and gas industry, and where you're at today.
Sure, no, I'd love to. So grew up, military family, Oklahoma City.
Air Force,
aim high. My dad was stationed at Tinker, so I was a military brat that never moved. Who would have thought? So actually went to start off college, went to a D2 college in Kansas, was a physics major actually with a mathematics minor, was a setup, and then blew out my ACL, decided, hey, I'm going to switch to schools.
Wait.
Yeah.
So what were you doing in the D? Were you playing ball?
I was playing football.
Okay. What'd you play?
Outside linebacker.
Okay.
So a little different looking now. I weighed about 225 back then, so a little bit bigger of a guy. Yeah.
Can't even imagine that. Can't even picture that. Okay, so anyway, that's like me. If I weighed like 170 in March post-COVID, I'd be like 225. That's what I feel like. It's the COVID 30.
Yeah, definitely. Well, COVID-15's a real thing on this side.
Don't joke about COVID. Relax, it's a joke.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, burn us in 2040 when you play these back.
I'm definitely wearing my mask right now. Don't worry.
So you switched schools.
Switched schools, which was a blessing in disguise because originally I was a physics major. Switched schools when I actually tried and went down a naval route potentially, and that didn't work out, which was fine because when I switched over schools, it was actually during the fall break or the fall time coming in. So all the rooms were taken up, and so one of my good friends had a spot open up, and she was like, hey, we need another roommate, come stay with us. And she was a petroleum engineer. And so I started hanging out with some of her friends, and they're like, hey, we think you kind of really like this. And I was sitting there, I was like, well, I could be when the Navy thing didn't work out, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to be in a lab every day or kind of doing teaching. It was kind of the two things that seemed like
with physics?
With a physics major you would do. And
well, what drove you to do physics in the first place?
Honestly,
interesting.
I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got to college.
I don't think most people do.
No, do. But I knew I really liked physics, and it was something that actually came easy to me.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to pursue that and go a little bit deeper dive on it and kind of go, well, if I have kind of a direction of where I want to go, because I was paying college all 100% on my own. My dad paid through college through going through the Air Force. My mom never went to college, which was no big deal for her part, her success. And so it was one of those things where like I didn't want to waste time. So I knew I was good at something, and I was just going to pursue it and see where it came up. Well, I ended up having to spend 5 years, because when I swapped over to OU, ended up loving petroleum. Took an intro to petroleum class with Dr. Sam. And Dr. Sam, if you ever went to OU, he's retired now, I believe, or he might still be there.
He's a listener of this podcast.
I'm sure he is. Fell in love with his attitude and fell in love with his overall approach to petroleum engineering, and he was on the drilling side as well.
Well, what about his approach that kind of brought you in, that kind of was attracting to you?
Oh, he was...
Because everyone has those teachers, you know what I mean? Everyone has those mentors, or they should have those mentors, I feel, in a career.
He had a deep... he was hilarious, because he was all over the place, very enthusiastic, very energetic, and he had this very... deep African accent that was just, he would just go into it at all, and he would have these little quips and jokes about it. He's like, oh, no, I do not want to be on the rig at that time. And you're like, okay. And so you're like, wait, you're more intrigued. Like, what is he saying? Like, you zone out of it and come back. You're like, okay, what's going on? What's on the rig? Why don't you want to be on it, Dr. Sam?
So he brought you in.
Yeah, and he was really funny about that endpoint, but also at the same time, he's a genius. I mean, he's got his doctorate in petroleum engineering, and he's super smart on the drilling side of things too. So it was something that I was just immediately attracted to. And then, of course, it didn't hurt that when I was looking for an internship, all these people were like, hey, we're going to pay you for an internship. And I was like, it's an internship. You get paid for that?
Right.
Okay, I could get behind that. And so that kind of deep delved into where it started off. I got lucky and got internships with Chesapeake to start with, and from Dr. Sam, and kind of the beginning of the coursework, I knew I wanted to be on the drilling side, and so got a drilling position as an intern in Chesapeake, and actually met my oilfield mentor. Shout out to Kurt Shipley, Nova Oil and Gas CEO.
He's also a listener,
I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is.
And so he kind of gave me the groundwork for everything as well going into it, and that's when I had a true appreciation on the drilling side and just knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a drilling engineer. That's a path I wanted to go.
Would you say the main motivator for the path of being, I guess, focused on the drilling side versus completion, production, reservoir, would that be mainly kind of, I guess, your mentor?
I think it was a mentor, and then also on the split side of things where I love the instant gratification. I know I've heard Kate and a few other previous podcasts, people talk about this, is the fact that you make a decision right then and there and you get instant recall of what happened. You don't have to wait around forever for figure out and make a decision. I mean, reservoirs, don't get me wrong, everyone has their position. Right. Without anyone else, you couldn't get things done. Land, you can't, no lease, no grease. Reservoirs, like, oh, it doesn't matter because it doesn't make economic sense if you don't have us.
No reservoir, no bore.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole...
Just made that up.
Yeah, I mean, sort of run. And so you get to that whole position, but on the drilling side, there's something I love and thrive off still today, where it's getting that call at 3 o'clock in the morning, having to think on your feet, have an understanding of what's going on, the ability to see below ground where, that side comes to me a little bit easier than like my wife, per se. She can't imagine something without actually having to see it physically in front of you, where I've been kind of fortunate where I work underground the entire time. And that's something that comes instantly to me, where I can picture it, see it, what's going on, have an understanding for it all. And I love that kind of process of, all right, I've got to be switched on at all times. Whenever I get a call, something's happened. And then I know here in the next hour or two if I made the right call or not.
So it's a question of, you love knowing that, first off, it's always changing and something always pops up. It's never, okay, well, I need these 3 decisions, and I'll just come back to work tomorrow and see how they played out. This is you like the pace of it.
No, and that's something that constantly changes. I mean, you've got your completion side, which is cool in its own fact. I've worked completions, we can get in that in a little bit, where, you know, I have an appreciation on the completions end of it all. Production, you know, you're always going to kind of face some challenges, but it's always kind of the same, you know, okay, you know, a rod went out, or we're seeing some sand, there's the same fixes. Drilling side is truly, every single day could be completely different.
Right.
You're no idea where you're going to get into, and some of the stuff you don't know we're going to have.
And some people really, that turns them off on the drilling side. They don't like getting woken up at 3 in the morning with this or this, you know, random standard, you know, stuff that people are calling it the drilling bit, waking them up and talking about it. But other people it drives, such as yourself.
Yeah, and that's, trust me, I mean, I can definitely say my wife doesn't like those calls all the time. And there has been times where I was like, man, I really wish I didn't have to get woken up at this time to get it taken care of. But at the same time, it's I always laugh, and my wife jokes with me. She's like, you are one of those few people that actually truly loves their job. Waking up in the morning, you have a smile on your face, and you're ready to go, which I do. I mean, I love what I do. So,
awesome.
And drilling did that for me. And so when I had that first internship working for Chesapeake, glory days of Chesapeake, when there was absolutely insane, I mean, of course, oil was crazy expensive. I think gas was like $13 an MCF.
So this is 2007, 2008
yeah.
area? Okay.
So things were really going, and so working DFW stuff that year, came back, worked another year out in West Texas, which has a play in the reason why in my career path later on. So I think a lot of people don't take a full appreciation of internships and what kind of impact it could have. It had a direct impact on my career path as well. And so worked there, came back in full time, got a lot of great field experience after I graduated with my petroleum degree. Was lucky to get a job right away with Chesapeake.
Okay.
Went and did something that I'm super thankful for, which is about 14, 15 months out in the field, working pretty much every single area that Chesapeake had. I got to work some Haynesville, work some Arkansas, South Texas, West Texas when they had it at the time before they sold it. Went up to the Marcellus, and that's where I actually broke out full-time working for them, was drilling wells up in the Marcellus, and some of their first Utica wells too, before they actually started buying up all the Utica.
So how is we've discussed working in the field, and I mean, my experience working, you know, when I was working offshore was not only did I learn about, you know, the actual rigs, just like, you know, your wife, she's able to see something. Like, I wasn't conceptual, you know, unless I saw something, put my hands on it, and understand it. So the biggest takeaway from working in the field for me was, number one, you learn the operations, but number two, you're able to communicate with the people out there. What was something you mentioned that was kind of your biggest? It was a great experience for you. What was great about it for you?
Well, I think, and I don't want to take away from other engineers or anything along those lines, but I think that basically, if you don't have a lot of field experience, you're not the best engineer you could be. I'll just put it that way, because I think being able to write something down on a piece of paper is great and all of being an engineer, but when you ship it out to the rig, they're going to look at it and actually apply it and how they want to apply it.
Does it make sense?
Does it actually make physical sense? I mean, you could tell somebody to do something, but unless you're out there in the field and you actually have an understanding for how these guys are going to do something, I mean, they're not going to follow every single step. Yeah, they're going to try and mirror the prog, but in all reality, that's not how it goes.
Right.
And you need to have an understanding of that. And, you know, some of these people that are coming out and some of the other engineers that miss that, I think they could grow from that a little bit. And that's what I loved about it the most, was that, and that camaraderie is one of those things, never being too proud to ask a question, because we all start somewhere. No one's ever the expert right off the bat. And so, yeah, I mean, was I an idiot asking for the key to the V-door? Yes. I think we've all been there. We started off.
Go and get the skyhook was my
Oh, God. Yeah. And so you have to be the idiot sometimes, but you grow from that and you learn from that. And I'm very thankful for all those hands and for every single one of the consultants I've worked with in my history, because they've helped shape me to be the engineer that I am today. And without those guys giving me a hard time or, you know, yelling at me for being green or doing something stupid, I mean, you just don't grow from that if you don't have that.
That's also how you develop those bonds. You know what I mean? It's kind of, it's not a fraternity, because there's, you know, but it's a family.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like as a drilling out in DFW, I remember talking to some of the guys and some of those consultants and some of those hands I'm still friends with today and talk to. And that's something that you don't really get in other arenas or other fields when you get into. So that's another thing you got to love about the petroleum side. It is not 6 degrees of separation. It's more like 2 degrees of separation, I feel like, in oil and gas world.
If I didn't know you, I would know someone that knew you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It blows my mind how closely related everyone is in this industry, and so it's important to work well and work hard, because your name and your integrity is all that you really have in this industry.
So getting back on track. So you're in the Marcellus right now. That's when you kind of broke out.
Yep.
Okay.
So broke out in the Marcellus, drilled a bunch of wells up there. Everything was going great, and then I think there was kind of a dynamic shift change that everyone can kind of say that worked during Chesapeake during the heyday. I mean, it was an incredible period of time. I think we maxed out at 176 rigs. I don't think you'll ever see that in the history of drilling ever again. 176 rigs at one.
We're at what, 250 right now, something like that, 268?
Gosh, yeah, that's it. So it's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
So, we had Building 7 where I think we housed around 56 drilling engineers all together at one company, which is kind of crazy for an independent at that kind of size.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a dynamic shift change with the board and kind of the whole dynamic change, and I wasn't really a big fan of where things were heading. So I was lucky to take a position over and followed my mentor over to Lynn Energy.
So how long were you at Chesapeake before you...
I was at Chesapeake for about almost 2.5 years.
Okay.
So switched from there over to Lynn Energy, got taken a position over there. It's Houston owned and based, but we had a field office up in Oklahoma. We were drilling Grant Wash, Carr, Hog Shooter out in the panhandle of Texas. And so we took that program up to 9 rigs. Met some great people, worked with some incredible people.
Did you work with Dina Dabowski at the time?
I did.
She was just on the podcast.
So Dina's a great engineer in person in general, hell of a fisherman. Incredible setup there. And so she ran pretty much down here in the Houston office. And it was kind of a weird dynamic. We talked with the Houston office quite a bit, but we ran as 2 separate companies almost.
So you were still living up in Oklahoma?
I was still living up in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So we had our full Oklahoma office. And we ran that kind of separately from the south, or from our Houston office. So the Houston office, weirdly enough, they took care of the Hugoton field up in Kansas. They had some of the Permian stuff that they were still working on that side, and then we had all of the Texas Panhandle.
Okay.
That's what we worked.
So Mentor went over to Lynn. You followed.
Followed them over there, and so we worked that. Great experience. Stayed there, and then one actually swapped over for a little bit over to completion side, which I'm thankful for too, because I understand now what I have to leave somebody to come back to, and it's always good. And I've heard other people talk about it on your podcast before. Having that dynamic range of working other areas, I think, is vital to other engineers as well, because sometimes you get pigeonholed and only working one specific dynamic, and you don't get the full breadth of the picture.
And that, touching on that, I mean, I can relate to that. I think during back in 2000, my years may be off, 9, 10 or something like that, there was all these new builds, and I was over at Noble at the time. There's all these new builds, and you have different motivating factors. For number one, you got the engineering group that just wants that rig out of the shipyard, because that's what they focus on, the days in the shipyard or stays out there. And you have operations saying, well, is this rig able to start operating at this point? So you have different... Just like completions and drilling or production, you have different motivators for each group. And unless you understand that, then it's easy to be like, oh, this group's dragging their feet, or this group's cutting corners, or this group's doing that. That's not necessarily true. It might be one of those things, well, actually this group is not motivated by making this rig operational at this time, or getting the well online at this time. So it's important to understand different people's motivators and actually how they carry out their jobs. So the experience in completions gave you a view behind the curtain.
Definitely, and it's one of those things where you can easily see where, okay, we need to get stuff off location, we've got a frac spread waiting, it's costing money,
Yep.
Let's get in there, and then also, what kind of wellbore do I have? A lot of times drillers go, hey, let's just drill as fast as I can, but what are you leaving behind? It's great setting records, but is the long-term production going to be okay? Can they actually frac? And you get all the sand away, what's the tortuosity look like, what's the overall going to be long-term? And so that kind of gave me that step back look from there, and that's also kind of getting to that time where I was being more interested on the business side, and so I actually started working on getting my master's from Tulsa in energy business, and I think that kind of gave me a great leg and an understanding of more of the finance side, and that helped play a role later on when actually I came in one day and sat down, had my Starbucks, and got called into the office, and they go, "Hey, we're selling all of our assets that we're working on currently." And so I kind of looked around and was like, well, hell, all right. I've got, I'm a drilling completions engineer with nothing really to drill or complete, so let's take a look around. And that's kind of when it worked out in my favor on the internship side, where actually I got a call actually a few days later from an engineer that I worked with previously that was like, hey, Aubrey's starting up something new. It's called American Energy Partners, and we're starting a Permian group. I worked with you in the Permian a little bit. Why don't you come on over and come in for an interview?
Cool.
So went in for an interview, went great, talked to everyone, the next morning got a call, and I was like, hey, let's get going. So got to get in early on the startup for American Energy Partners, which then morphed into Permian Resources.
Okay. And so wait, you had probably about what, 4 or 5 years of experience in the oil field before this happened?
Yeah, I'm right around 5 years at that time.
Okay.
Coming in, and so
still pretty kind of new.
Still new.
Yeah.
Still getting green behind the ears, but I will say, kind of going back, it's one of those things when I started off at Chesapeake, it's coming into a place that was running 176 rigs at its peak. It was very fortunate to where I liked the setup instead of going to another company to where you might spend 3 years in training and coming back around before you get assigned something.
So you're talking about you're the type of guy that actually wants to jump in the trenches and get the job done versus being groomed at one of these larger E&P companies where it's like you're gonna do 8 months here, you're gonna do 8 months here, we're gonna follow up with a review.
Yep.
Yeah, so you kind of want to be thrust into it.
And that's when I knew, because coming into it, I was like, look, I want to be a drilling engineer. That's what I want to do. Come work for us, and you're gonna be drilling the right way. I mean, I started off, had 3 rigs hitting the ground, and then
Were you ever watching rigs before?
No.
So on that you have 3. Okay.
Three rigs to start off with, and you're handling progs, taking care of it, flying up to Pennsylvania every few weeks, checking on the rigs, driving through, looking at it all, and coming back, and then trying to make changes as you go. It was insane time.
How did you feel about that? Did you feel like you were like this challenge? And this might pertain to some people out there right now, but you went into something, suddenly you got 3 rigs, you're flying, you're kind of, it sounds to me like you're just kind of treading water at this point, figuring it out.
Oh, I'm definitely not, free stroke. I am barely keeping my head.
So what was your mindset about this? Was it like, I'm going to get this done? I mean,
it's one of those things where I think most people thrive under pressure, especially on the drilling side. It's one of those people where I was like, oh, I'll cram for a test at the last minute because that's when I do best. So I really kind of just loved it.
Okay.
At the time, I just was out of college. I wasn't really into I was starting to date my wife at the time, so it wasn't anything too crazy. So I had the time to dedicate myself to it all. And so being able to have that capability of instantly being thrust into that and learning from all these guys out there and all the people that we had. I mean, we had 50 plus drilling engineers in our company at the time. So being able to go walk down the hall and talk to these guys that have 30 plus years of experience drilling. Oh, it's an incredible knowledge.
Right.
And so I think one of the things I had to take was just take the pride out of it. I mean, yeah, you have a petroleum engineering degree, that's cool and all, but in all reality, I'd say 90% of the stuff you learn in school have no application to what you're going to be doing in the actual field. And so you have to run with that and take it from the guys that you learn out there of what's actually going on and kind of grooming yourself from that. And so having that ability with those guys and getting it right away, I think really gave me a leg up on a lot of other people out there as far as having that ability to just drill so many wells in a period of time that a lot of people don't ever get to drill that many wells just because amount of numbers. That's one of the things I think a lot of the engineers at Chesapeake got to take away is having 176 rigs with 50-something engineers. The numbers of wells drilled per engineer are kind of unheard of in the industry in general. So when I made the swap over to Permian Resources, or at the time American Energy Partners, I had a pretty good understanding of everything underneath me, but it was pretty cool because from that set point, we were in infancy there, and we'd just taken over the asset that we had purchased, and so it was fun getting that viewpoint. I had just done with my master's at Tulsa, and so being able to go ahead and see the startup of a company. And we had weekly meetings, getting to see kind of the growth of it all, what had to be done.
And that kind of correlates to the education of your master's. Yeah, so it's actually.
Oh, it was. You could not ask for a better inlay between literally learning about how a company needs to be set up, the accounting side of things, and overall dynamic of all, to then literally being brought into a startup company side, and then especially with a guy named like Aubrey. I mean, you can't go wrong on that setup. I mean, it was incredible to see the man work and the overall way everything was handled and the buildup of it all. And so you learned a breadth of knowledge really quickly getting into that side, and sitting on a whiteboard and for hours and a week just looking, all right, how do we want to try to plan this field? How do we want to grow it? How do we want to develop it? And being able to get in on those conversations at the very beginning is invaluable.
So again, you find yourself in the trenches.
Yeah.
You're it seems like your whole career. You hear that?
Mm-hmm. Low cops.
Don't worry about it.
GTA.
We're
Here we
good.
go.
We're good. 4 alarm siren. So it seems like your entire to date, your career has been you just jump in the trenches, want to learn, want to go from 0 to 60, and kind of learn everything. And actually, it's kind of interesting too, because what you're learning in college, it's kind of like a real life case study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fantastic on that aspect of being able to just jump in and see the setup from it all, and kind of it split up and it built from being this little, I mean, it wasn't a little acquisition, it was a very large acquisition, but with not a real clear sight path going forward, and then developing the whole plan for the entire acreage set and building it up into its own standalone company. And so having that experience was a lot of fun, and got to work with some great people and some great leadership as well there. And we kept growing it up, and then unfortunately then we had the giant oil price drop that, kind of 16, 14.
What happened?
Well, oil went, yeah, I know, right?
What happened?
What happened? Oil's great all the time.
Yeah.
So we went from, $100 and something oil, then all of a sudden just, boom, gone, poof, overnight. It seemed like it was just gone. Sounds really familiar, right?
Well, I don't think we've ever recovered from that.
No, we haven't. And as I was showing you previously, if you look at the rig count from the U.S., we haven't recovered at all, really. I think ever since 14 kind of time frame, around there, 14, 15, it's just been kind of a downward slide, unfortunately, on that endpoint. And so we got into kind of some trouble financially as far as trying to grow as quick as we can, taking on some debt. And we ended up getting taken over by an outfit down here in Houston called Sable.
Okay.
And so the Sable crew came in and took over the company, and we had the opportunity, some of us, to go down, and it's one of those aspects where we kind of were trying to figure out where we wanted to go in life on the setup. And during that whole process, I got lucky, and it's just kind of how life is sometimes. Through connection in the oil field, who would have thought, met these guys down here at Earthstone Energy. And we ran into each other, had a few discussions and talked, and they had actually just taken on an acquisition from Bold Energy as well, and needed some more drilling experience there in the Permian, which I just came off drilling over 100 wells in the Permian, right in the offset acreage that they had, and it was just kind of this perfect fit where, I can't, thank the stars enough, I got lucky and just kind of walked right into that, and was offered a position down here in Houston, and so I took that role.
So wait, when did you move to Houston?
I moved to Houston about 3 years ago now, 3.5 years ago.
That was longer than that. You were in Oklahoma before then?
Oh, all Oklahoma before that.
Really?
3.5 years here in Houston now.
Okay.
Which I still can't believe it's already been 3.5 years. Time flies.
It does, especially if little ones, it flies a
Oh,
lot faster.
I mean, I can't, literally my 2-year-old just turned 2 today, so it's his birthday today. Yeah. It's crazy.
And you're down here doing
a podcast.
Doing the #1 rated oil and gas podcast per my wife today on your son's birthday.
We did a celebration already this morning, took them out for pancakes, we did presents.
And you know what, they're not going to remember it. Just get the picture, call it. Yeah, we took this at 7 p.m. that night.
I can't say that, but I will say, yes, I feel like he's satisfied in his position with his amount of Legos that he received this morning, and he's got some cake and balloons waiting for him when he gets home this afternoon.
What's he into, Paw Patrol or PJ Masks?
Oh man, Blippi, have you ever seen Blippi?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, he really loves Blippi, which is this character guy that kind of goes around, sees animals, other stuff. He likes Iron Man.
Okay.
So real big in Iron Man. We've watched that quite a few times. And then his #1 show right now is Mr. Peabody.
Oh yeah.
So,
okay, Peabody and Mr. Sherman.
Yeah.
I know. I'm about.
I've only seen that movie about.
I respect that.
200-300 times.
He makes some pretty good history puns.
He does, and
as a dad, I appreciate
being
that.
dads, yes.
I appreciate that.
My wife gives me hell for kind of always cracking up at the puns I've heard about 20 times, but
they're
God,
so good.
they're so good. You
They're
can't.
so good.
As a dad, I'm like, man,
Yeah.
can you give them credit where credit's due?
I get it. I get it. So, down in Houston for 3 years.
Down in Houston for 3 years.
Sons too. Is that your oldest child?
No, so my oldest is Carter, he's 5,
Okay.
and then my youngest is Cooper, who just turned 2.
Okay, so you have a 60-month and a 24-month-old.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've got an 84-month-old. They grow up fast.
I can't do the month thing. That's
You're the engineer and physics/math major, so I think you should over me. But anyway, let's continue. So, Earthstone, you got on with them.
So I've been with Earthstone for the last 3+ years now, and it's been a great whirlwind. Started off as a drone engineer, and then worked my way up, and now I'm the overall drone manager for the company. We've got about 30,000 acres out in West Texas,
All right.
Reagan, Midland, and Upton County, and then we've also got about gosh, hope I don't get this wrong, about 17,000 acres, 17,000 acres down in South Texas between Gonzales and Karnes County. We had 2 rigs running at one time in Midland, with 1 rig running down in South Texas. Of course, during current times right now, we've laid the rig down, and we're kind of just buying some time, trying to see what's out there. We're in a great financial position, though, so I'm very fortunate to be at a company that was run by a great CEO before he kind of just stepped down into a role. Frank Ladinsky did a great job.
He's also a
long-time listener. Originally background as an accountant, didn't really like taking on debt, which set us up great for being able to roll through this kind of downturn right now. So we're fortunately in a good position. I guess no one's in a great position during this period, but we're better than most right now, fortunately, on that end point. So we're hoping to keep that going, and we're working the M&A side pretty hard as well right now, and so we're going to kind of keep building from there. But
well, I was going to say, man, during these times, I mean, whether you're in a great financial position or not, I mean, with you laying the rig down, reduced activity, how are you actually, not you personally, because you and I have had this conversation, but how are you as a drone manager, as kind of a leader at Earthstone Energy? What are you communicating, or how are you guiding your team through this dumpster fire?
Oh, dumpster fire it is. And I think the only way you can is just plain transparency. There's nothing to be hidden, and that's one of the things that I try to take as I've learned as growing up and being a leader through everything is communication is key. And I think you've had some guys on recently that were pretty great about it, especially, Barrel Bits, the Barrel Group.
Derek Nixon and Jamie Sperrin.
Yeah,
Right.
they were great. How they were talking about giving weekly updates, and that they didn't even think they needed to give updates to. We're getting updates, and I think that's imperative, especially during times like now. And I reach out to my consultants, and they reach out to me still. They're kind of like, hey, what's going on? Where we're at? And you got to view it as you're not more important than anyone else just because you have a title. And you've got to look at it that way, where at the end of the day, we're all just people. And they have lives to work and live and try to get through, and so do you. And so trying to be naive or, sometimes the truth, it hurts, but I'd rather just be the honest truth and give people a real impression of what's going on than just kind of trying to sugarcoat it or, oh, we'll be back next month, don't worry.
It's easier to deal with the hard reality up front than it is to kind of be led into a circle, kind of having the blinds drawn over people's eyes. In my opinion, I'd rather be told pretty much, hey, this situation sucks, X, Y, Z, we're doing this, these are the external factors we can't control, but we're communicating with you. I'd rather deal with that than, oh, well, everything's good and dandy. The next thing you know, 2 months later, you walk in, the shop's closed.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of those things where I just try not to even deal with any of that craziness and just give them, the truth from the get-go. And it's one of those things where, I can't control a pandemic. I can't control what the Saudis or the Russians are wanting to do. And it's one of those positions where, okay, hey, I think we're in this position. I think, at this time we might be in a better position. We're just going to keep building from here. If there's anything I can help you with personally and or professionally, you let me know. I'll be willing to help out wherever I can and try to make it happen. And that's where I get requests all the time from LinkedIn, from consultants and other professionals trying to find work and other things done. It's like, look, I'm sorry, there's not anything I can do right now on that endpoint. But if you need anything I can do, you let me know. We're all in this position where we're trying to get through this time of craziness and this unknown going forward, and it's just being a good human at the end of the day is what's important. And I think that if you can do that and just kind of put titles and everything away and just be a good person in general, you're going to be better for it, and the rest of the community in the world is going to be better for it.
Man, I mean, being part of a consultancy group, I mean, I get a lot of, as the work out there's, random LinkedIn message, and I try to respond to the majority of them saying, man, it's tough right now. No, there's not. That being said, just shoot me the resume just in case it becomes, like, whether you can help them out or not, you can still communicate to them and just kind of let them know what's going on.
Yeah, and the least thing you can do is show some kindness to somebody, because you don't know what kind of,
Dude, the world needs more kindness right now. Let's get into that later, though. But right now, I want to continue down this oil and gas career development, and then we can kind of go into kind of the what grinds our gears. But so it sounds to me like there's an equal balance between mentorship and experience in your career. In your personal career, what's been more, I guess, would you say is important for you, and how important is that for you with your team? Is it mentorship or is it experience, and what you're looking for as a team?
Oh man, I think for personal growth, I mean, mentorship's a huge part. I mean, you can go in and try to be, the young kid that thinks they know everything, but you're still coming to these guys that have years and years of experience and trying to grow from that. And so being unbiased and asking questions is huge, and having that ability to go, hey, I don't know. I'm to the point now to where I have a really good understanding, I think, of most aspects of everything. After 10 plus years of drilling a few hundred wells, of kind of understanding. But at the same time, I'm not out on the rig all the time.
Right.
I don't live out there. I don't have the guys. And so that's why I really try to push to my consultants and the guys I work with is I rely on them as much as they rely on me. I can give them a prod, but they're also the hands that I got to respect and go back and forth with. And so if I got to give respect to get respect, it's kind of been my life motto on that point. And these guys have been out there their entire lives, sacrificing their lives to be out there. And
you're not going to walk in with 5 years command and respect saying, oh, I did this in the office, these calculations work, so do this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. It's, again, calculations on paper only mean one thing when you got to deal with Mother Earth on the other side of things. So having that ability to really just be working with them as best you can and having that knowledge base is great. And I think having that kind of ability to lay yourself out there with these guys gives you a lot of headroom out there and a lot of trust. And I've gotten a group of guys that I think that I would easily go to bat for on anything. I think we'd go out there and drill most anything out there with little problems just because of this relationship that we've built. And having that trust in guys that you work with is really big. And I think that's what kind of differentiates a lot of groups, because nowadays it's anyone can get the tools. And I think that's one of the things I've said a lot to any vendors that are listening will probably have heard this from me a lot is, anyone can go ahead and get a Ferrari, but can you drive stick? And it's one of those things where it's like, do you have guys that understand what's going on and get the job done and take care of it all? And having the personnel, I think, makes a big difference in a lot of companies, because you can get a 1,500 horsepower rig, you can get 7-inch motors, you can get the best bits out there in the world, but what makes the difference at the end of the day between
people?
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's your team, and it's the people that you have. They have together. Like, yes, don't get me wrong. I feel that some directional companies have some better tools than others. I feel that consulting groups have some better than others. CPC. Yeah. And so I think that's where you get in the setup where, if you have the right people in the right position, doing the right job with the teamwork and the right mindset, anything's possible.
Yeah.
You can be great at what you do. And I think that's what differentiates. You see a lot of different companies out there do better than others that are in the same areas, and that's because of the people what they bring to the table. And if you treat people as people and not just a number, I think that's where you get. And that's something that I've kind of grown into, where I've gone from being at this huge company that is Chesapeake to...
I'm not saying you were a number, but you probably felt like a number.
No, definitely a number. And we had our sets, and we were good on that end point. But then I've gone smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things. It's great walking in, knowing everyone's face, and being able to talk to anyone, and having that ability. And I think communication at that point just becomes such an important deal that it's overall work experience is huge on that point, and that's where. It's really interesting during these pandemic times of not being in. I know. I cannot believe I'm saying that on a microphone.
Well, these pandemic times, like it happens every 6 months.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
Being not having that face to face and being in the office.
It sucks.
gosh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Because I love just being able to talk to people and getting face to face with people and having that interaction, that discussion. Because again, I think that's what makes it important in the oil field and the industry is tools are tools, and that's great, and numbers are overall fantastic, and you can do whatever you want to manipulate them. And I don't want to go into certain people and the aspects. And
We don't have to.
Well, I kind of want to, but it's one of those things where I feel like if you're an engineer in overall set points, that if you look at just what numbers are, economics basis, you're not going to perform the best you can.
Yeah.
And I maybe edit this out later, but on the trouble side of things, I feel that a lot of people get caught up looking at what it costs a sack for a barite is, or what a reline cost is going to cost them, and they don't look overall at the general people that they have and the setup that they are, and they step over $100 to pick up a dime. And it bugs me to the aspect where having this connection, having the face-to-face, I think is going to probably put a real big damper in the oil and gas industry in general. Like, you're doing great, metrics are coming along, analytics are coming along, but having the right time to grow relationships, build with people, know that they're going to pull out all the stops to get you materials, get you things done, is the game changer.
You know what? You right now I feel like you're telling Noah about the flood. I think I think back in 2016, I was at another company, Energy, and I remember when everything became from relationship to price. And look, I'm not saying that's wrong. Price has to be a certain point to AFEs and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like just like a pair of shoes, just like a car, just like a good bottle of bourbon. I mean, you kind of pay for what you get.
Exactly.
I mean, if you got people that aren't staying in the company that flip over every 6 months and you're just bidding on price, and something messes up and you pick up that phone call, you pick up that phone, make a call, and you get someone on the line that doesn't know you, that doesn't really give a shit about what's going on with you, that doesn't care about your operations. Like, oh man, we'll handle this on Monday. Call me back on Monday. That's not helping you out.
Yeah.
And people have I feel like this. I feel like some customers expect the same quality of service, but they pay for a different price. But it's like, man,
you can't. No,
you pay for what you get.
And I've told a lot of guys that I've talked to in the past that have sales side things where I don't really care as far as overall cost, and they kind of give me this look like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm like, well, if you come in here and you're going to try to sell me on the directional side, for example, and you say, hey, we're going to come in at this day rate. I'm like, well, okay, that's great, but
it costs me X day rate if you
exactly, yeah. It's like if you look at the spread of a rig in general and the overall cost on the daily side of things, it's if you save me half a day because your directional driller is better at sliding than this other guy, and I know the relationship with that guy, and I know that he's better at doing some small micro slides, or he might have a better BHA setup in his mind of where things are going to go on this well, then that's overall better, and I've saved more time. So that's totally agreeing on that side where it's sometimes I think the relationships are a lot more important than the overall cost side of things, and that's where things are going to get more interesting as we go forward, especially when you start looking at the analytics side and start taking out relationships and the numbers as well. I think you just had Kate on with Oventive,
yep.
And she talked great about hey, here we go forward with analytics are probably the most important setup.
Man, you're hearing that from a lot of people, actually.
And you really are. And don't get me wrong, I think analytics are vastly important. We use a few different companies to take a look at it, and we have some of our internal side of things where I like to look at and get the numbers based off of, look at performance side of things. But at the end of the day, things are still going to break and the overall setup. The number one change, though, what you can't control, and that's what I think a lot of people kind of miss overall, is people.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, until I have everything being run off of, till onshore becomes more offshore, and onshore is 100%.
More automatic.
Yeah. If I was running offshore, onshore, then yes, I would totally agree with the analytics side of things. But more onshore right now, I'm not running rotor steerable in every single setup. I'm not running, a automatic roughneck. I've got hands out there that are still putting together a piece of drill pipe in the setup, and I've still got teams.
Yeah.
I've still got to pick up drill pipe that's not automatically being done. And there's these things that you can do if you have the right crew and the right people to get things done that are going to be better overall. I can't just get through an automatic driller making a change on my differential pressure. There's changes that can be done by personnel only.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where some people are kind of missing on the point on some points where you can get into if you can get better people and that connection, I think is drastically important to the overall success of a company and the people that are in it.
So personal relationships are a big thing with you.
Yes.
And as they should be. I mean, you know the person, you know if they're going to pick up the phone if things go haywire, you know that you're going to be the best, that they're going to want to fight for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important. So that being, you started talking about where the oil field's going. I kind of wanted to kind of pry into that a little bit. I mean, obviously you're not sitting here with a crystal ball that you predict X, Y, and Z, but I mean, what's your feeling, overall feeling personally, I guess, in your little dome on where the oil field's going? Or things to focus on.
No, oh no, I think I take a second of hesitation here just because I don't know if I have as a rosy picture of what the oil and gas field is going to be like going forward. I wish I could say it's going to be, over $100 a barrel and life's going to be fantastic and, we're going to get back to the heyday.
If you want that, go on LinkedIn and click any one of those articles that tells you the oil's going to be really good or it's going to be really shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's all in the point. On my viewpoint, I think it's going to be a little rough. My only hope and aspect is, we get some sort of vaccine here pretty quickly for COVID, and that kind of gets everything back to going. And even if we do get a vaccine, I think it's still going to take at least 21 to kind of get back and going. If you look at the EIA reports coming out recently, we're still above average on a 5-year average, not a 1-year average, but the 5-year average. We're still above on overall oil inventories and on distillates, and until airlines get back up in the air going full time again, more flights going, more people are back on the roads, overall consumption's back. I don't care how much the Saudis or the Russians kind of curtail production. They're already curtailing.
Yeah.
And they can only do that for so long because that's the way their economies are run, are off of production.
Right.
On that set point. And then you've got people like the UAE who are kind of just producing what they want to and are not really staying within OPEC Plus's
Did you see that Mediterranean group, the little conglomerate, to go over natural gas prices?
Oh yeah,
that was pretty interesting. I thought.
Gosh, yeah. You can't. The world dynamic is going to be ever changing, but I still think that where that's at, I don't know necessarily if prices are going to rebound that quick. I think the biggest kind of interesting fact that I still don't really have a good grasp on is overall U.S. production. Because if you look at the overall numbers, the crash in 14, it took about 6 plus months for kind of the rig drop to occur. And when that did occur, it still wasn't down to the numbers that we saw today. This last drop took less than right around 3 months, so half the time. And so
it's the lowest activity for like 80 years or something like that.
And so when you look at that, I mean, yes, we've seen gains in overall production on per well basis that kind of made up for that. But then you run into a problem where, we haven't been drilling as many holes. And most of these wells, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a reservoir engineer. I don't pretend to be, but I kind of feel most of these are at least 80 to 90% decline rates. And so even if we don't have 600 plus rigs, I'm going to say, running, you're not keeping up with overall production. And I would, I don't have the number of DUCs in front of me. I don't know how many DUCs are in the United States. But I would say it's less than what we had in 16, just due to the fact that, rig rates dropped so quickly.
Right.
So with that being said, we don't have that many wells to bring back online when oil prices do rebound as much. And so I kind of foresee where we will probably have in the future when overall demand starts to kind of really fully pick up, we'll probably see some pretty good spikes, which is promising for us. But I think overall, in general, it's going to take a little bit while longer than most people are expecting to see. With that being said, I would love to see prices rebound back into the upper 50s, lower 60s. I think right now we're being kind of down low 40s and up, but I think a lot of people could probably pick up and get back to drilling.
I think there's a lot of hesitation though, man.
Oh, there is, but I think if we get to the point where it's pretty consistent, above 45 with a strip leading into the 50s potentially, and like I said, consistency. Consistency is key. Having these prices where it's like, oh hey, everyone's feeling great, we're at $43. Like, we might be picking up here in Q4. It's looking awesome. And then all of a sudden it drops to 37, 38.
And everyone's like, those plans are on hold.
Yeah, it's like,
let's hold off on that a little bit.
I don't know. So if we can get prices up to that point, we'll be good.
Well, that kind of wants me to, that has me segue into our other conversation. So during these times, I mean, a lot of people right now are finding themselves either out of work or they're stagnant in their jobs, or they're just kind of sitting there and waiting for things. Back we talked about Dave Ramsey Wood. Hope is not a plan.
Yep.
We discussed that before the podcast. I mean, what would you say to people out there right now that are just kind of waiting and just kind of on the sidelines, waiting for things to pick back up to high 50s or 60s, maybe in 2021? I mean,
I would say if you're in a position where you're out of work and you're trying to find something to do, it's one of those things right now where I would say pursue your passions and go for what you want to do. People are passionate about other things, and if you can make money, if you become so good at something that people will pay you for it, do it. If you love woodwork, if you love painting, if you are really good at
baking.
Yeah.
I mean,
just start something and work for it. I mean, I don't know. You live one life, and I would hate for people to sit there at the end of the day, on their deathbed, going, "What if? What if I could do this?
If only 10 years ago I started this.
Why didn't I do this earlier on the setup?" And it's one of those points where I think this could be a great renaissance. In all honesty, I mean, yes, sometimes the oil field doesn't work out, but I mean, if you got in the oil field thinking this was going to be your career for your entire life, then I'm sorry you didn't look at the overall cyclical nature of the oil field.
And that's the thing, man. I feel like a lot of people right now during these times, first off, it sucks. You know, it's a very nervous time. You don't know what that's going to look like. In the past we've gone through these, little busts, and we're like, okay, well, 6 months it'll kind of regulate itself and be back at this stage, But we're not at that stage. Like, that's not our current reality. And I agree with you. I think this will be a renaissance. I think that people should probably start. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, on whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, kind of go into their own passions. Whether it's woodworking, whether it's being a fishing guide or something like that. Like, exactly, pursue your passion. Yeah, you might not make the income that you want, but shit, just as we know, tomorrow's not guaranteed. I'd rather be happy with a medium paying job than miserable making 7-8 figures.
And I think that's a lot of people. I don't know. People might hopefully not take offense to that, but making any money is better than making no money. And I think a lot of, especially a lot of the older generation probably doesn't deal with it. But younger generation, I'm 32 or 33. Gosh, God, I'm getting old. 33, and a lot of my
first off. Dude, shut up. I'm 40. I'm getting old, I'm 33.
Well,
I had my first kid when I was at 33. So actually, my first and only kid at 33, boy.
Oh, God.
So I'm sorry you're getting old at 33. Go on.
I know. That's going to probably give me hell. But no, I'm just saying, I think a lot of people at younger age or whatever, I think, get a little too proud, especially, we can talk more about this in a minute with social media and the setups of it all.
Let's talk about it now, buddy.
I think a lot of people get this false conception about what life should be, and they scroll through Instagram and see these millionaires and people driving around in Ferraris and Bugattis and, on their yachts and going, "Wow, God, what did I do with my life?
Oh, God, why can't I just be there?
Why can't I be there at a setup? And it'd be so great."
I'd be happy if I was having sashimi in Cabo right now.
I mean,
well, shit, so would I.
Yeah, no shit. Who wouldn't want to be
there? But that's
there?
the thing, man. I feel like right now we're living in an age with whether it's social media, Instagram, Facebook, that comparison is the thief of joy. And I don't know who said, I think Roosevelt or somebody said that, but comparison's the thief of joy. And right now there's a lot of egos and there's a lot of pride. And I remember when I was offshore, I remember a 5-year noble drilling. So I got my undergrad at A&M, I got my master's in France, and here I am working on a rig. When I wanted to go to marketing, right, and be selling these things, wearing a suit and Mad Men style, and here I am working on a rig. And I remember the pulsation dams.
Oh yeah.
Pulsation was busted, and there's oil-based mud everywhere in the shaker. So or the mud room, and I'm in there kind of cleaning up. I'm like, this is my 5-year anniversary at Noble.
Right.
And here I am cleaning up mud. But at the same time, I mean, that's a reality check. It's like, wait a minute, dude, what do you want to be doing?
Yeah.
Like, you want to be entering data into somebody's stuff. Like, you're working with some of the best guys out there, best guys and girls out there. Like, have fun with it. So you really do have to check your ego and stop comparing yourself to other people. Like,
I think that's a problem a lot of people get into, is trying to, in this world today, is automatically, like you said, comparing. And the setup of it all, it's be fortunate for what you have and where you're at, and keep on working and go from there. I mean, happiness isn't truly defined between having material things, and that's how I view stuff. I mean, I forget who the guy overall said it all, and misquote me or look back on it, and we can add it in later. But It's one of those guys that said, hey, you know, a Rolex and a Timex from Walmart tell the same time.
Yeah.
A Ferrari and a Honda
Get
get
you
to the
there.
same location at the same time. So it's one of those things where you don't always necessarily have to have that stuff to get to that point. And so being able to just do work and what you're passionate about makes life easier. It's one of those things where, you know, it's the age-old adage everyone's always heard: if you truly love your job, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
And it's kind of corny and whatever, but at the same time, during times like today, it's not a bad way to go.
But that's the thing though. I feel like right now I think, you know, like, you know, what are you passionate about? That's such an easy question to ask, right?
Mhm.
But it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? It's like Alan Watts, a philosopher, said, you know, like, you don't know what you want in life because either A, you already have it, or B, you don't know yourself. I mean, so what are you passionate about? It's not like, oh, well, I like doing this. I like playing Xbox. Well, what are you passionate about? What hobby, if money was an option, would you dive into?
Yeah.
You know, that it's really kind of a reflection of yourself and kind of understanding yourself and kind of, I guess, a self-reflection on what does make you passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you pursue that to make a living?
Yeah, and it's a great question because a lot of people just...
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not a lot of people just sit down and take the time to think about that. Yeah, I think that's something that during this time people can actually sit down and, you know, write things down, do a vision board, or
Whatever
do
you wanna
something-
call it.
Yeah, do something that you go, okay, this is what I love, this is what I think I can do, this is where I think I can go with it, and go for it. I mean, the worst you have to say is, you know, my mom always told me when we were trying to do stuff as a kid and sell chocolate during these giant fundraisers, is like, what's the worst somebody's going to say? No. And that's okay, if you can live with that and understand that, okay, wow, that's not going to hurt my feelings, then what's the worst going to come from it?
Nothing.
Okay, so you can go for it, you don't succeed, okay, move on, past it.
That
Go
goes
on.
back to checking your ego, though.
Yeah.
If you can't handle a little bruise about hearing a rejection no or something like that, then you're not cut out for it.
No. And that's a whole other rant we can get on, people just not being offended by things or not having the ability to deal with it all.
Dude, everyone's offended right now. You're getting, you know, comedians, you know, that are being ruined right now from a joke they made back in 1985. I mean, and right now with social media, with the news, with everything, I mean, even if you have no idea about something, I'm kind of bored. I'm going to go be offended right now.
And that's the problem. I think everyone nowadays has that ability to be offended, and I think gone are the days where it used to be, hey, I'm offended, okay, I'm going to get on with my life. Now it's, hey, I'm offended, I need everyone else to know that I'm offended.
Not only am I offended, I need a grassroots campaign to point my finger at this person. Look, man, life's not serious in my opinion. Like, yes, there are serious things. There are, you know, serious, you know, sadness, whether it's death, whether it's disease, whether it's this, whether it's that. But I mean, man, you gotta have a good time with it.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's, you know, the only thing that you are guaranteed is that you're going to die. And
Yeah.
so, other than that, I mean, you just got to go for it. I mean, too many people are dwelling too much times on somebody's opinion on something and going, oh, I don't agree with that. Let me go ahead and spend my next...
But it's been escalated right now through social media, through the comparison culture.
Yeah.
You know, the cancellation comparison culture.
There's Facebook, I think, and the ability and being able to get on instantly on your cell phone and look at something and scroll through it every night, any minute you want to, and see all these different opinions, and it's kind of...
Which are actually catered towards you if you watch The Social Dilemma, like we talked about. They're actually catered towards you. So if you kind of get pissed off that, you know, people not taking off the foil on wine when they uncork it, next thing you know, that's going to be on your feed, and it's going to start getting you more pissed off, more upset. It's like, oh my God, no one's unfolding their wine before they cork it. This is ridiculous. Like, I hate this. And next thing you know, it's like, so I agree. It's disconnecting with the easy access to look and compare. But not only that, they feed you shit that you should be upset about.
No, and it's...
Go, come on, feel it.
I know, culture in general, I think, has just taken a back step. I think that overall we've never been more connected, but never more disconnected at the same time.
We are all divided right now.
And I kind of want to TM that saying, because that's the whole aspect. I feel like we have more ability now to be connected with anybody in the entire world. But at the same time, we are more divided than we have never ever been as a country.
Well, everything's about that right now. Division.
No, it's incredible. Are you Republican or are you Democrat? Or Are you white or are you black? Or are you...
Mask or pro-mask?
Yeah,
Are
pro-mask, pro-mask.
You Chick-fil-A or you McDonald's? It's everything. Everything is a political stance. Are you NFL or are you not?
And I think we get into this weird dynamic where people are trying more appease people for the public eye and set up where, I don't know, I'm kind of just over it all, really, on the side of the social media side, where I think it's just kind of taking an overall rule of people's lives where you just can't be yourself anymore. Without being viewed in a negative point where, you might, I think gone are the days where you can disagree with somebody over something just pretty simplistic.
And still be friends.
And still be friends. It breaks my heart in seeing some of these friendships and people that you've known and forever.
Family members too.
I've seen it plenty of different ways where, you might have a disagreement over something, but, why can't you just disagree? Move on with life.
It's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes us people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it all. Have the choice of having an understanding of something and move on from
But
it.
right now, I think with social media, and don't get me wrong, I am being this way. I'm 40 years old, and my job is marketing.
Yeah.
So I understand how important social media is. But also, I'm kind of taking the stance that, man, ignorance is bliss, man.
It's not a bad way. I'm so past this point where I'm just about to just give it up all.
Well, what did you say before? You said it was information overload.
It is, and it's to the point where literally you can look up anything in the entire world, and yet we sit here and get back
We
and
bitch
forth.
about whatever.
Yeah, bitch and moan with each other
Yeah.
about what's going on in a setup. It's like you could literally learn anything. You learn any hobby. You can learn to code. You can create beautiful and incredible things. Yet we sit here and spend that time instead of just bitching at each other, instead of growing. And it's kind of gotten to the point where I'm just kind of over it all.
I'm over it.
It's kind of incredible to where culture has moved to this point. Where
It's gotten to the point where it's like, it's Democrat versus Republican, black versus white, evil versus good, this versus that, American versus treason, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, we're neighbors. We're Americans. And that's what you kind of, me personally, and it's not like that's not Drake, you don't like hearing this around the Rotary, but it's like, man, there's enough shit going on out there. It's like, I don't want to be mad anymore for a reason that I actually personally, if I actually sit there and think to myself, I don't give a shit about that issue. I don't give a shit about this. I don't care where this guy goes, gets his hamburger. I really don't care. Like, ignorance is bliss to me. Like, focus on what you can control.
Exactly, and
Your family, your friends.
And there isn't a whole lot you can control, and I think a lot of people get up in arms about what they think they can control and they can't control, or the political side of things, or the setup of it all. And like you said, at the basis of it all, it's what I try to keep my whole mindset to is exactly what you just said, is what can I physically control? I can control who I talk to every day.
Yeah.
Can I get on the phone and connect with somebody that I haven't talked to in a few months? I think that's key, being able to talk with people, having the general ability to keep up with your friendships and foster that and be there. What can I control what I put my energy into? Do I feel like I'm growing from, bitching about something on Facebook or LinkedIn or the second Facebook, which is a whole different topic? Or do I move on and do something that I can grow from? Do I try to learn a hobby or try to learn some new history or grow my education? Or, it's one of those things where people can, you can do what you want, but at the end of the day, are you happy with the growth where you're making it from?
Dude, I got off of Facebook on my phone I'm on Facebook, but I took the app off my phone about 2 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I strongly advise anyone out there to try it out. Try it out for 2 weeks. I guarantee you there'll be an overall sense of calmness.
Oh.
You're not going to be as outraged about anything. It'll kind of take you down a couple notches.
Well, when you don't have all that information feeding into you on a day-to-day basis, and kind of this general corruptness of what the world's going through and everything's so horrible and bad, if you just kind of just go back to itself and be like, oh, okay, or go for a hike for a few days. Go ahead and just leave your phone at home. Disconnect.
Yes.
God forbid you hear that D word, disconnect. Everyone's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, no, that sounds incredible. Just leave your phone at home. Just hang out with friends, face-to-face contact.
People are going back to this 80s parenting mentality, you know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, because a lot of times people were very, helicopter over their kids and all that stuff. Now people kind of go back to 80s parenting. I advise, if you want to do 80s parenting, you're right. Get away from your phone. 80s parent a little bit. You know, sit outside. You know, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of bourbon, and just hang out.
Oh, talk, let them play, be outside, do whatever you can. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, I've 2 kids, I've gotten stuck in that trap where I just give them the iPad and call it a day because I want some me time. But at the same time, then, you know, the other day I sat down and I looked around. I was like, oh my God, like I'm on my iPad, wife's on the phone, kids are watching iPad, one's watching TV. It's like we just don't have that interaction that we used to. That is so, you know, something you can grab on and so tangential that it's like right there for you. Go for it.
Not even that, but it's also the imagination.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I mean, we, you know, no iPads or anything like that, but like we used to like, you know, you have this pen, and this pen would be a pretend gun or like a makeshift toy or a wand or something like that. Now it's like kids don't have iPads. It's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, use your imagination, and they don't even know what that is.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I know times have, and a lot of people are like, oh, times have changed.
Not a lot.
Which, well, I understand. I mean, like back when I was growing up, you could let your kid outside and say, hey, don't be back until the lights come on.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. Like that's what we're used to. You do that now, you're going to get arrested for child neglect.
And there's not really nothing that has really changed, but the fact if you do that as a parent, you're a bad parent.
Yeah, and it's the perception basis of it all. So don't get me wrong on that aspect of things. And I can't. No, I'm not preaching to anyone because hell, I just do the same thing as everyone else right now. But I'm growing to that point where I'm just so tired and over it all. Where I'm just like, all right, there's got to be better times because that's what I feel. All these platforms are starting to turn into. You know, Facebook. I'm seeing it more on LinkedIn side of things, and even on Instagram, where it's all just information overload of just crap that you keep seeing over and over again, and it's just like, okay.
That really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's that one-on-one relationships that you have with your friends and the setups, because that's where you fall back to at the end of the day. It's when you're in a hard spot, you don't go ahead and try to reach out to some random person on Instagram or some far-fetched person that you've never talked to on Facebook that you're got into this argument about politics 6 months ago.
Or you don't post a picture that everything's fine, you're happy, and when next thing you know, it's miserable.
Yeah. And you reach out to your friends. So, I mean, at the end of the day, between all of this and all the talk, I would feel that if you can foster relations, get in front of people, build overall talking points and that face-to-face interaction with people and build overall relationships with people that are in your life that actually care, you're going to be better for it.
So start calling your buddies.
Yeah, that's all I can do. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, we all end up 6 feet under where you're at, and it's who's going to be there for you. Is it going to be the people that you argued with on Facebook, or is it going to be your friends? And so I kind of wrapping that up toward the point where be out there, talk to people, have the interactions,
Yep.
Stop, bickering. I'm just over it at this point. I think a lot of people are.
How many times do you think you're going to change your mind on your favorite color if it's yours is green, mine's blue, and I argue with you? You think that's ever going to work?
No.
And that's the thing. I mean, talking about funerals, I mean, at the end of the day, I've always said, look, I don't give a shit what I do, but if I have a big funeral and it's a good time, all these people are there, that's when you know that you made impact on people's life.
No doubt. I mean, that's what you can only hope for is, it's people you're remembered, because it's not what argued on Facebook or you posted on LinkedIn or all that. It's the people that you actually physically impacted.
Yeah.
And that's the only living legacy that you have are those people that you've actually impacted in your life.
Start thinking that people aren't more different than you, that they're more similar than anything.
And it's having that ability to talk to people and get into their lives and make that impact is really where you want to be at.
If you were to do anything, Earthstone, whatever, everything's gone. If you were to get into anything right now, talking about following your passion, what would it be?
Oh, God. I've always said that if I could go ahead and get into anything and I won the lottery, I would actually probably take every VOTEC class I could possibly can on woodworking and in car shops and bourbon. So
Woodworking, okay, so, all right.
I would build furniture, build cars, and collect and probably try to resell bourbon.
Wait, have you ever, well, you kind of do that right now, but have you ever rebuilt a car before?
No, well, I've done a little bit. I have a 1980 Corvette that I got with my dad.
Really?
L82, original big block engine, 350 big block. And we've worked on
Take that?
Huh?
Take that?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
What would be the first song in that car that you jammed out?
Oh,
ooh, huge question right here. This is probably the most boring question right now we've had on.
Oh, shit. I'm going to have to go Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.
That's the first song you're gonna play in a Corvette.
Yeah.
I respect that.
T-tops off.
It's a T-top?
T-top. T-tops off. Nice summer day, or not summer day, spring day.
Okay.
Windows down, T-tops off. There we go. Yep.
Leonard Skinner.
Yep.
Okay. I might do something a little more Panama,
Okay.
or by Van Halen, or something AC/DC. That's
like
just me. Or the Cult, Sonic Temple. Something from that.
Nothing wrong with that at
A
all.
little more rock and roll.
I don't think you can really have a wrong answer if you're rolling around in a vintage Corvette.
Well, if someone wants to drop Crash by Dave Matthews Band, I'm like, all right, dude, wrong.
Get out. Yeah, wrong answer.
Hop out of the T-tops. You can't do that.
Don't worry about it.
Still be woodworking, so you're really into bourbon.
Love bourbon.
Alright.
Bourbon, Scotch are kind of my hobbies side thing where.
And that being said, you just don't like drink. Like you're really into them.
No, I really I love the history behind it. I love the Scotch, where it's kind of the first thing I really got into.
Yeah.
I got into. My friends were giving me some wine. They're like, "Hey, try the wine."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's okay. They're like, "Oh, can you taste the currant and the licorice and all that?" I'm like, it tastes like fermented wine. They're like, "Oh, it's a $200 glass of wine." I'm like, "Oh, okay. We're gonna move on."
Yes, I can taste it.
Yeah. And then I got my first glass of Scotch, and they're like, "Oh, hey, can you taste the peatiness? Can you taste this?" And I'm like, "Actually, I can." And so that's something I kind of latched onto, and I was like, "Okay, hey, I really like kind of Scotch because I have an understanding of the profiles and where it's from and the style of it all." And then my friend's like, "Hey, you should try some of this bourbon and get into it." And then I saw some of the economic benefits of getting into bourbon and flipping it and that kind of style of it all. And so, and that's where I've...
Is that what brought you into the economic benefits, or was it like the difference in the taste?
The taste is pretty good. I mean, don't get me wrong, like old fashions are probably my favorite drink ever.
Right.
That's my number one go-to, any bar I go to. But I do love bourbon for the flip side of things and being able to flip it and that kind of that culture and the setup of, I don't know, it's fun. What people call it bourbon hunting. And,
Yeah.
You know, going to
It's a thing.
going to liquor stores, trying to find that hard to find bourbon, looking.
And then asking, "Oh, you have anything in the back?"
Yeah, hey, I know I was just looking like 10 minutes for nothing. Have anything in the
You
back?
know the real stuff, and hopefully the guys that get bourbon enthusiasts,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, you're one of us. Follow me."
Yeah, don't worry. Like,
Yeah, I got you covered.
Yeah, it's usually like, "Well, you're not a regular. Get out of here. I don't want to talk to you. You haven't bought anything from me. Why would I sell you this?" So that's what you got to deal with. But no, bourbon in general is something I've fallen in love with and kind of liking the style set of it all, and of course the taste profile of everything, and it's a fun cultural set just because the hype behind it.
Yeah.
It's just a growing brand in a set, and people kind of just fall into it, and it can be hardcore hunters on it all, or expertise on the side of it,
Or just enjoy it.
enjoy it.
The random.
The randomness and the class of it. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, if I could, dream job, like, let's go into dream job here. I mean, if you could pick one job, what would it be?
International Deep House Techno DJ.
Oh, God. You would fit the profile so well.
Go on, what's yours?
I mean...
Actually, my dream job would be sitting here with you right now around the Rotary. Second dream job, International Techno House DJ / actor. Go on.
Oh, man. Very believable. Very believable. I mean, dream job, who would... I would have to say probably working for Macallan and being a master distiller.
Dude, I got a good story about McCann.
Oh,
so, a family friend of mine was a liquor sales rep and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did a McAllen tasting. And we started off at Famous Grouse, and we worked our way all the way up. And I know we're coming short on time. Damn, dude, we're talking for an hour and 15 minutes.
Jesus.
You know that. So, we did this Scotch tasting. We started off with Famous Grouse. We did McAllen 10, McAllen 12, McAllen 15, and then we had McAllen from the Prohibition era.
Oh, man. Oh.
Which was kind of cool because it's like, this wasn't sold in the U.S. for 9 years. And it was this, and obviously with Evaporate and all that stuff, so that was a pretty cool experience.
And I think that's what gets me most about, wine's cool, and people have wine that's old, and it's great, and the setup of it all, but for me, bourbon, I think is underappreciated, and some of the setups in Scotch also, and, wife gives me hell, because, like, you paid how much for this bottle? But then, for me, when I think of, like, the tangible setups, like, one of my most prized bottles is a bottle of 30-year-old Macallan, and it's one of those setups where it's, when you think about it, it's something that's been 30 years in the making. Can you think of one thing that you've, in your life, most people can't sit back and go, other than kids, have looked back and go, I have taken care of something for 30 years and have tried to build it up to be the best it possibly can be. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it into bottles and give it out to people to sell.
Yeah.
And so I can see the price behind it. Like, I understand that, minus the fact that they also get taxed on the full barrel, and all you really have left is like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
Fine.
on.
So
don't get realistic with it.
Yeah. So the passion behind it is the fact that somebody has taken care of and cultured this thing for 30 years. You have the ability to sit back and just open up a bottle and taste somebody's work that they've tried for 30 years to get there. And to me, there's something tangible and incredible about that experience, about able to have a drink from that time period. You're like, oh my God, this is almost older than I am. In some cases, you can get a Balvenie 50-year, or a Macallan 50-year,
which is
60.
insane.
When you think about something that's been around for that long and has been just raised for somebody to have a drink of, that's what blows my mind about
And
it.
here I am mixing with Diet Coke.
Yeah. Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
That's me. Man, Nick, I know that you got to get on the road here in a little bit. I know we've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes, but is there anything that you want to bring up that we haven't touched on? I'm fine. I got all afternoon.
No, I think we've gotten pretty much everything across. I would only say to people right now is, I think a lot of people have come on here in the past, say, hey, keep your heads up, keep working hard. But I kind of go back to the whole point where it's, do what you love to do, and keep building from that and work towards something that you find tangible in your daily life. Because at the end of the day, it's about something that you love and something you want to do, and you can't, pay for that. And if you find something that you truly do love and want to build for, I think you're going to be better for it. And life's going to be better. You're going to be better to other people. You're going to be more respectful of other stuff, and you're just going to kind of have an overall better setup. So that's all I'm going to say on that end point.
I think that's a good point. I mean, at the end of the day, as we talked about, life's short. And I'd rather go out having a good time for the past 5 years, enjoying what I do, enjoying the people I meet. And here's the deal. If you start pursuing something you're passionate about, it may not turn into something overnight. It's going to take work at it. So just continue to pursue that.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think all the greats, Leonardo or...
Leonardo DiCaprio, my ex-co-worker in Basketball Diaries, that I was an extra on.
I did hear that on another podcast. I do love the thought.
Are we talking about Leonardo DiCaprio or
Leonardo da Vinci? Or,
the Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, the Ninja Turtle. So if you look at all the Ninja Turtles as their Renaissance heroes or setups, I don't think there are any of these other modern guys coming around. They just never start off being fantastic. You've got to work towards it, and they also then become incredible people.
And they also were their biggest critics their entire lives.
Oh, for sure.
They thought they were shit.
No, and that's the thing, and I think that's a lot of people nowadays still think that.
Van Gogh never sold a painting when he was alive.
No.
Yeah.
And so you gotta just work for what you love and do, and you're gonna be okay at the end of the day. So hopefully that's something you can pursue, and it's something you love, and go from it. If that's oil and gas, it's fantastic. If it's not, then it's okay too. Don't worry about it.
And also be kind to people.
I think that's something we've gotten away from a lot. That's a whole nother hour and 17 minutes we could probably discuss.
Be kind to everyone.
Be kind to everyone. No one's better than anyone else on the
You don't know what they're going through.
You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's been done or history or what they potentially could go through. So everyone's a person.
It doesn't cost you anything being kind to
others. No, it doesn't. And it's the most simplistic thing in the world. Is just being kind to somebody, saying hi, saying bye, reaching out to the friends, talking, being a good person in general. Amen. It's not hard.
I agree. Well, Nick, man, first off, I appreciate you coming on this podcast. I know it's been a while, and I'm glad we got you on here. I really love diving in kind of what, not only your background, but kind of what makes you tick. I love hearing about this stuff. And if anyone has any questions for Nick or myself, you can reach us at roundtherotary at cap-petro.com. Again, that's roundtherotary at cap. I'll do the voiceover voice.
Oh.
You can reach us at roundtherotary at cap-petro.com. Again, it's roundtherotary at cap-petro.com. All right, Nick, I appreciate it,
Thank
man.
you so
I
much.
appreciate you coming in, buddy.
No, thank you.
I look forward to having you on again.
Appreciate it.
Wish you continued success.
Thank you, sir.